When I say missile row, what is the first thing that comes to mind? I know what you're thinking. Angled missiles shooting in the sky to shoot down planes and cause other sorts of havoc on society. Well, clear your thoughts of war, because coming up next, we will show you how we went from testing war machines to spacefaring vehicles all on the same turf. How's it going, everyone? This is Chad from Vintage Retrospect. Yes, you heard me. We're no longer Vintage Space. We're Vintage Retrospect, and I have a short that I released a while ago that explains why that is. So, let's start with the late 1950s. The array of launch complexes at Cape Canaveral Air Force Station and operated by the 45th Space Wing of the U.S. Air Force and NASA earned the nickname Missile Row, and also known as ICBM Row. This name encompassed the wide range of launch facilities where various significant missions were conducted. It served as the primary site for all pre-Apollo 8 manned launches and played a crucial role in early Department of Defense and NASA spaceflight missions, for making it a focal point for space exploration during that era. These 8 launch pads included Launch Complex 11 through 20, although a few numbers were missed, such as Launch Complexes 17 and 18, in which those 2 pads were not physically included in the coastal lineup. All these launch pads were nicely lined up along the Florida coast. The further north you go, the newer the launch pad. Let's start with the first pad to be built, Launch Complex 11. This pad served as a launch facility for Atlas missiles during the period from 1958 to 1964. The first rocket to set foot on this pad was the Atlas B in July of 1958. This pad occupies the southernmost position among the launch pads, collectively known as Missile Row. On December 18, 1958, Atlas 10B successfully propelled SCORE, the world's first communication satellite, into a low Earth orbit. Moving north, we have launch complexes 12 and 13, but more or less the same Atlas rocket launched from here, with the notable differences being the Atlas derivatives and some pad construction differences. Moving on to Launch Complex 14, and this pad was constructed in 1956 and was also primarily used for the launch of the Atlas rockets. In 1962, the historical Friendship 7 mission launched from here, which was to launch the first ever American into low Earth orbit, carrying John Glenn. Also, this launch pad launched the first Titan rockets from this complex as well. Furthermore, Titans would see itself planted at launch complexes 15, 16, 19, and 20. Launch Complex 19. This pad was built in 1959 and became the primary launch pad for the Gemini manned spaceflight program. The first rocket to ever launch from Launch Complex 19 was a Titan II on April 8, 1964, and this was carrying the unmanned Gemini 1 spacecraft. The mission aimed to test the spacecraft's system and its ability to be controlled from the ground, marking the first step towards eventual manned Gemini missions. Last but not least, the Launch Complex 20 would be the last constructed pad of its kind. Now, you are probably worried about Missile Row being completely non-existent today. Well, not exactly. Firefly Aerospace, for example, is a new modern spaceflight company planning on launching their Firefly rocket at Launch Complex 20. Also, you may be familiar with SpaceX landing zones 1 and 2, and they currently take the place of Launch Complex 13, and of course, this is where the spent Falcon Heavy boosters come back to land back at the Cape. And that's not all. We definitely have a lot more small launcher companies coming to the Cape. So what would you do to bring back Missile Row the way it was in the vintage times of space? Let me know in the comments, and also don't forget to subscribe and kick the like button. This way, people who were searching for the history of Missile Row will not end up finding no search results. And that is sad for everyone, as we do not want history to be forgotten. I am your host, Chad, and I will see you out on the launch pad.